Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Legacy Speaks. It's Sunday, so you already know that it's Self-Talk Sunday. But before we dive right in, I need you to hit that like button. That way we can up our views as well as our audio plays. Don't forget to hit that subscription button below. That way you can stay up to date on newly released content on a regular basis. So let's dive right in. Alright y'all, I'm gonna keep it a buck. This week has been very weird for me. A number of transitions have been taking place and I'm like, oh goodness, how am I going to effectively articulate it? And speaking of articulation, we're going to talk about the mode of communication, creating an open line of communication. For a very, very long time, I have been a one-woman show. So I served as the creative developer, the manager, the publicist, the web developer, the content creator, all of that stuff. And I was just like, man, you know, I really can't get to the bag like I want to if I'm always doing every single thing. And granted, you know, just because I've alleviated some things, like outsourced certain things, that doesn't mean that I'm not in it. Everything has to have my eye on it before it enters into the social media space. But I'm super particular in the way that I do things, and I hold a lot of things and a lot of people to certain standards. So a couple of months ago, I started an internship specifically for newly recent graduates, because understandably, people who have left or have graduated from their program in the middle of COVID, they're not getting hired, they're not getting the experience that they need. So I was just like, man, here's an opportunity for people to be able to work with a big brand and then be able to figure out how they can move forward with that experience. But one of my interns recently resigned, and this is not to bash him or anything. Actually, his exit interview really provided inspiration for what we're about to talk about. One of the questions that I asked him is what would have made the internship better for him, not only for him but I guess for future interns as well. And he said, well, I highly recommend that you get a point person that serves as a liaison between yourself and the rest of the interns. And I'm just like, I'm not 100% on that. I really don't. I don't like that. I feel like a point person is more like somebody who will play telephone. A lot of messages get misconstrued when you have an individual who is in the middle. I like to eliminate all of that. The type of leader that I am is that you have access to me when I am available. So that's via text message, via email, via phone call, whatever. Whenever you need something, feel free to reach out to me. And I mean, like, all of the ideas are coming from my mind. So why not have direct access to the person who has been running this business for going on 4 years exactly. So why would you want a point person? And I was just meditating on that for quite some time, and Holy Spirit really had to make me pause and be like, come on now, sis, how many times have you had direct access to Jesus and you haven't fully tapped into his power? And I was just like, Lord, that was a hitter, for real. And I'm just like, man, even when you think about it, over time, how many times have all of us have had access to the one, the creator of the universe, the creator of the stars and the galaxies, matter of fact, the creator of you, and yet you felt fearful to just take the leap and actually reach out to God in prayer? And I was just like, man, Lord, there's always a lesson, boy. There's always a lesson. So that whole ordeal led me to Hebrews 10 verses 19 through 23. And it reads, brothers and sisters, we have confidence that we can enter the Holy of Holies by means of Jesus' blood, through a new and living way that he opened up for us through the curtain, which is his body. And we have a great high priest over God's house. Therefore, let's draw near with a genuine heart, with the certainty that our faith gives us, since our hearts are sprinkled clean from an evil conscience and our bodies are washed with pure water. Let's hold on to the confession of our hope without wavering, because the one who made the promises is reliable. And I feel like that's super important, because I think it's human nature for us to always want to, or at least have to deal with some type of gatekeeper when it comes to the things of our lives. And we see that throughout history, right? So when Moses went up on the mount, the children of Israel wanted an idol. Then they wanted a king. And I believe for quite some time, in order for us to get our prayers answered, we had to give them to a priest, and then that priest would enter into the holies of holies and speak on our behalf. When Jesus operates in the fullness of his ministry and dies on Calvary for us, he literally tears the veil. There's nothing that can separate us from the love of God as well as the access of God, and we forget that. Going back to verse 20, through a new and living way that he opened up for us through the curtain, which is his body, and we have a great high priest over God's house. That's very important. That is so important to know and to understand, that we constantly have access to the one who is always with us, the one that loves us so much that he chose to die on the cross. It gets no better than that. And for me, I have to consistently remind myself, because even though I'm really big on communication, I also tend to be in my head a lot. And there'll be times where I'm trying to be super independent. Like, I got it. I'll do it. I'll fix it. Whatever issue there is, I'll just handle it on my own. I will retreat and just try to create these strategies to help me get through whatever perceived obstacle I have. But I have to remind myself that if the veil is torn, I can easily pray to God. I can easily communicate to him that I'm not having a great day. Things are a little rough right now. I need your help. I really do need your help. I think even then, right, to be able to vocalize that I need help, that creates some level of vulnerability, right? And a huge part of being able to effectively communicate your needs is being able to trust that individual with your needs and trust that he will handle your needs as well. Even in verse 23, it says, let's hold on to the confession of our hope without wavering, because the one who made the promises is reliable. How would you know that this person is reliable if you haven't tested their reliability? Woo! You better. Yes, right? In order for us to trust the individual, we have to spend time with them. We have to constantly commune with them and constantly communicate with them. And I'm just like, man, that is just so good. It's like dating, right? So if you are into an individual, you know, you feeling the vibes or whatever, and you really want to get to know them, you're constantly wanting to speak to them, you're asking questions, even if it may rock the boat a little bit. You are growing that relationship by cultivating it in that manner. And it's the same thing with God. It's the same thing when it comes to our stressors, or not even stress. It doesn't even always have to be a stressor. Any concern. Somebody this week, they dropped a gem in my spirit when it comes to like first. There's an acronym, and F is for finances, I is for interest, R is relationships, S is for, I believe, stability, and T is for troubles. And when you put God in all of those things and make him first in all of those things, I just feel like it creates a doorway for clarity. I had another situation this week where I was talking to my supervisor about how I've been feeling on the job, and I wanted to express that because ultimately I needed clarity on how to move forward as an employee at this place. And I'm just like, yo, I really want to be here. I absolutely love what I do, but I need some direction. Can you please help me with this certain thing that I'm struggling with? And just to be able to have access to my supervisor about those things, that was super helpful. I know she's right next door to me. Her office is always open. She has an open door policy, but if I don't tap into that thing, if I don't truly exercise the access that I have to her, then I'm just gonna sit in the dark, and all those emotions are gonna fester, and it's just gonna be super problematic. And I could have easily been in a place of like, man, I don't want to share these things with her because I don't want her looking at me some type of way. I don't want to express how I'm feeling because I don't want to be retaliated against. But when you know the person, when you have a better understanding of the type of person that you're dealing with, it makes it so much easier for you to be honest, open, and transparent. And I definitely encourage you to do the same thing when it comes to your relationship with Jesus. The ways that we get to know him is through reading his word and also praying consistently. In 1 Thessalonians 5:17, the scripture says, pray without ceasing. And I believe the Common English Bible version says pray continually. That is so key. Prayer is communication. Prayer, it doesn't have to be something major or big. It's not as grandiose as a lot of people try to make it seem. Yes, you know, sometimes you get to be moved by the Spirit, you get to yelling and stuff like that, but I do want to remind you that it's simply a conversation. It's just like talking to a parent, it's just like talking to a spouse, it's just like talking to that really close friend of yours. And the cool thing about Jesus is just like, he doesn't even have to hear it. He already knows what's in your mind and what's going on. So not only is he omnipotent and omnipresent, but he's also omniscient. Yeah, so this week has just been very refreshing. Just a consistent reminder that there is no barrier or barricade when it comes to my communication with Jesus. Also, if I need clarity, I need to operate in a place of vulnerability and know that I can trust Jesus with every concern, every single concern, and trust that he won't get offended by what I'm telling him. I think oftentimes we like to place human-like qualities on Jesus, not understanding that he can handle any and everything that we're dealing with, regardless of how we say it. He's not going to be like, oh, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. I'm going to put you on timeout or a no contact rule or whatever like that. That's not the case. Another thing too is we have to be mindful of how we're communicating, not only with him, but also the people that we are doing life with. Understandably, there are a lot of cognitive distortions out there that limit our ability to effectively communicate, like mind reading, right? Thinking that we can take a little piece of information and make assumptions that this person is thinking a certain way. The best way to overcome that is by simply having a conversation, or maybe even projecting the way we feel about ourselves onto other individuals. The best way to navigate that is by checking what's going on in our heart, seeing how that's impacting the way that we're thinking about that person as well as ourselves, and then just moving forward and having those difficult conversations. And as always, prayer, man. If you feel like you can't talk to that individual, pray about it. A good friend of mine this week was just like, whatever you're worried about, give it to God. Leave it up to God and he'll handle it. But y'all, continue to pray. You know, don't just pray before you go to bed. Pray when you get up in the morning before your feet hit the floor. Pray throughout your day. It's just simply having a conversation with God. If you're like me and you talk to yourself all the time, you will not have any trouble praying, okay? For real, for real. All right, y'all think it's a game? This is literally why I started my YouTube channel and why I started this series, because I'm always talking to myself. All right. I'm not crazy, but you know. But y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of Self Talk Sundays. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And please definitely stay connected via Legacy SPKS on everything. Until next time.